Is everybody in?
Before we get started,
Everybody in?
does anyone want to get out?
Everybody in.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows
Ceremony
things
is
are bad.
about to
It's a
begin.
depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. We don't go out anymore. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. There's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my... I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. At first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
Here we go.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Good evening. Good evening. Today is Sunday, Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to every father out there and mother standing as a father. Let's see if I still know how to do this. Again, it's 9:25 in the evening or maybe 10 minutes in advance. It's June 18th, 2023, the year of our Lord 2023. It's been a while. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you are having a wonderful weekend. Let me just see if I got everything set up properly. There you go. What are we going to talk about tonight? Let me see. Let's see. So let's catch up. Uh, I've been fairly busy just at home, doing all the projects that I said I will be doing. I sent out a few feelers for finally the Red Queen hypothesis is rolling. Yeah, it's almost done. It's almost finished. I sent out a few documentations to be reviewed, to be peer reviewed. Hopefully, they come back to me with feedback so we can either read it or I'll just post it on the website that I created for myself, and then we'll go from there. I shut off, I think we talked about this the last time. I shut off social media just to refocus, recalibrate, and reconsider. Reconsider. I think that's the key word. I wanted to reconsider. Is this really something I want to do? Is this something I really want to continue? Put myself out there, put my thoughts out there, put my voice, and probably everyone that will be connected to me in some way or the other at risk. Why? Why at risk? Because the trouble we have now at this point in time, which is a timely topic, speaking your mind. I'm just hoping we've gotten past it, but more or less it will still be there. Getting cancelled for speaking the truth that most or the majority do not agree with. It's a huge issue. I think that's why a lot of people are just keeping their thoughts to themselves, even though these voices are very, very important in calling out certain topics or certain conversations that we need to have. Very, very important and difficult conversations we need to have been put on hold indefinitely, have been set aside indefinitely, purely because they don't want to risk probably losing their job, their livelihood. They don't want to lose their position in a certain community or whatnot. So, how far are you willing to go to speak the truth? What will you be willing to pay for being honest, being truthful, and speaking your mind about a certain topic or something that really needs to be addressed? So it's just funny enough, oddly enough. How many years ago was 2017? Father's Day also. Two, almost three, uh, 3 a.m. I wrote these. In the words of the great prophet, I'm speaking of a writer. I call him the great prophet. In his book, just give me a second. I'm speaking of Alvin Toffler. Alvin Toffler. Oh, sorry. Let me flip this video. There. Power Shift. If you're able to get your hands off this book, please do. The Third Wave as well. If you can find it, please do read. So, in the words of the great prophet, in this time of upheaval, when value systems up to the very core of family, church, and state are broken down, when these institutions are torn apart and merely shadows of their former glory, what then becomes of us? Everything starts without a firm grasp, only with a conscious self delusion of understanding. People begin without proper guidance, thinking they are armed with wisdom that they can serve as a guide to uncharted territories. Families have lost a lot. Fathers, mothers, most have become absentee parents, most not of their own choosing, some because of their own personal incapacity to mature, to outgrow their childish selfishness, and take responsibility for their choices. The once sacred roles have become immaterial and have been replaced by things, hollow substitutes given consecrated duties so that they can escape obligations that are now considered a stifling burden instead of a cherished and privileged responsibility. The simple rituals that served as tethers to each other have been severed apart so severely that we are physically together, but we are all so far apart and we have become strangers to each other. Words have been misused and perverted to suit new meanings. To what point, up to what cost, do we tolerate this blatant disregard for truth, this absolute disrespect and wanton travesty. When do we stop this? Where do we go? What are you waiting for? And who needs to fall prey to this perversion before we are appalled by this corruption of consciousness? These are words. I don't know if I was drunk. I don't know if I was sleepy. I don't know what was going through my mind exactly at that time. But this was 3 or 4 years ago, 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So that's 6 years ago. 6 years ago, at some point, I saw a shift, probably, with certain things, because that's how my weird mind works. I see patterns. I get to read patterns in a weird way. Maybe we were headed to where we are now. And also, Alvin Toffler, light years ago, he wrote these books, 1970s, 80s, so long ago, like decades ago, and yet they are still relevant today. They still apply so wonderfully today. So, what am I speaking of? What am I talking about? What fucking bullshit am I spewing out to you? In this time, our value systems have been corrupted. I would like to think of a different term, however, I can't find any. There's a corruption of the value system. The most things we used to hold dear, the most things that we considered so important, have now been set aside. And I don't want to say set aside, but maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. Yes. It used to be important to respect your elders, to respect authority. Maybe it was also their fault that the generations that came after them saw the folly in their actions, in their ways, that slowly the road to respect was eroded. Some bridges were burned, maybe. It's always going to be a double-edged sword, taking the burden of responsibility. It's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, to speak your truth, to speak your mind. How much are we willing to tolerate when it comes to the corruption of our institutions? How much are we willing to let by when it comes to certain values, certain things that should remain constant? Yes, certain things need to be changed in order for it to further and grow, but there are certain things that need to be constant. What are those? self respect, number one. Number two, the value of family. Let's focus on family first. Let's focus on family first. It is sad. It is a fact. I don't know if I'm the only one that sees it, or maybe there's a lot of people that, like I said, will not speak the truth because of fear. Father, mother are two different roles that we cannot interchange. A father needs to be firm, a mother needs to be loving. We need in our families understanding and someone that's there to give guidance to us. Since it's Father's Day, let's sit with fathers now. Okay, we'll go to mothers. Don't worry, we'll go to mothers. I'm not taking it away from them, but with so many broken homes simply because of maybe immaturity. Uh, Thank you. Happy Father's Day. I'm sorry I did not look at the comments. Sir Richel, happy Father's Day. Kuya Coach, Coach Ricky, happy Father's Day. Shout out. Ma'am Betchay, thank you. Thank you. Yes. So, going back, maybe it's immaturity. Maybe they started a family without really understanding what it means, or they have not yet understood the full gravity of bearing a life into this world. It's hard and very dangerous if you have not yet if you know not your position and your path to take in life and bring a life, hold be responsible for it, and not understand what to do with that life. Impose upon this life your mindset, impose upon this life the path that you would have taken prior to that life coming, because all of your choices will now be centered around that life. I don't know if it's the same for everyone, but since I had my children, my whole life became just centered around them. Took a while before I understood that, but that's how it is. You are no longer living for yourself. You are now simply living to bear that responsibility for your children. It's not necessary, this is where I stand. It's not necessary for my children to like me. It is not necessary for them to agree with me. However, it is my full responsibility to provide them shelter, to provide them sustenance, to provide them clothing, to provide them education, to provide them protection from all around them that wants to hurt them or corrupt them in any shape or form. I will be willing to lay down my life for my children. It's that simple. You fuck with my children, you're fucking with me, and I will kill you. It's that simple. And I'm afraid that there may come a time where we are unable to protect them. Because, of course, they are outside of our purview, not always within our purview. They will have the life of their own. They will see the world through their own eyes, through their own experiences. That's why I'm saying it's very important that we have a connection with them, that we have the things that we have lost, the conversations by the dinner table, the conversations during mealtime. Let's not be too busy for them. Let's not allow the conveniences of technology or the conveniences of the time to rob us of that opportunity to see the world as they see it. Let's not be too overwhelmed by our, what's the right word? Let's not be too focused on our careers, our own motivations, and set aside the life we have brought into this world that we are responsible for. Let us not allow, let us let us not forget that we were children once. Let us not forget the things that we hated about our parents. Let's break down the barriers of communication with our children. Let's try to have that conversation. Let's have that conversation with them. I know it's not going to be easy, but at least let's try. Let's try to share that time with them. Let's show them that they matter. Let's show them that we hold we hold them in our hearts. If there are certain things in our past that carries forward, that may prevent us from being that loving or cherishing or nourishing parent, let's let it go. It's not going to be useful. It's not going to be important for us. It's going to be a way for us to destroy probably a beautiful life your child may have. We may be the very reason that they become rebellious. We may become the very reason for them to look at the world in a very hateful eye. What am I talking about? What am I speaking of? I know you're well aware. Maybe you're feeling it also. Sometimes the restrictions we impose upon them, sometimes the worldview that we try to impose upon them may break them or may break our connection with them. However, wherever, whenever, I can only hope that Happy Father's Day, bro. Happy Father's Day. Sa papa mo pala. um, so what I'm simply trying to say is whatever you're carrying from your past or whatever you're carrying from your whatever burdens you're carrying that gave you this askew point of view in life, I can only hope that you are able to let it go once you become a parent, once you become responsible for another life. You must outgrow. I know it's not going to be simple. I know it's going to be really, really fucking hard to do that. But you have to. That's adulting 101. Now, let's move on. What am I speaking of when I say simple rituals that have been severed? Simple familial rituals. We had it, your family had it, everyone had it. Like I said, conversations by the dinner table, breakfast, and dinner. These were the meals where my father, my mother would sit with us by the table, especially dinner. That's the most important meal because that's the time where you and your whole family would sit by the table, have a conversation while you're eating. Now, I think when we have dinner, we all have separate time frames, probably because of work in general has changed. Some parents, like me and my wife, would be working from home, working the graveyard shift. And there's that very little window, especially if you overslept or you did not wake up at a time promptly so that you can prepare dinner, serve dinner, have that at least window of 30 minutes with your children, converse with them, try to catch up, even if you're always all together at home. So there are these certain things that we have lost because of time, because of the changes that have come with the environment and the situation. But let us not make that as an excuse because we need to be there for them, especially during this time. Fairly recently, in the past few months, I've been thinking of having this topic, but I didn't want to because I didn't think it was time, or maybe it was just me trying to rationalize. Did I really want to die on that hill? Because I know maybe a hill to die on, but for me, it's when I say a hill to die on, getting canceled or getting a strike from whichever platform I'm broadcasting it from. But I see that I'm just hoping it doesn't get the same amount of traction as it did. Because currently in the US, and we know how much we follow suit. Sometimes it's just a little late, but ultimately we all follow suit with what they do. All right. In the US, currently, they're having problems with the so called rainbow agenda, where homosexuality is being pushed into their children, being pushed into the classroom as early as kindergarten. There are certain books speaking of homosexual relationships. And I don't know, maybe it's just me. I don't know, but I feel it shouldn't be pushed to children as young as that. That's why we have a voting age. They were seeing books in the library. Speaking of, this is almost pornographic because it was talking about sexual relation, like the whole process of doing man to man and like woman to woman sexual congress in full graphic detail, in like storybook form with pictures, like comic books. And I don't think it's right. And I sincerely hope it doesn't happen to us. It doesn't get into our shore. But it's going to be knocking by the door, and we need people willing to stand up and speak about it when the time comes. I think we need people that would be willing to risk and stand up against that. There is a time and age for that to be talked about because it appears to be they're grooming, they're programming the children for that particular role. Because if you get exposed to it, you get desensitized to it. And you're planting that seed of thought as early as kindergarten. And I just hope we don't allow this perversion to prey upon our children. And the next, I don't have anything against them. I don't have anything personally against them. However, the pervasive thought of grooming children for that particular agenda, for that particular situation, seeding the thoughts of this in a very, very critical developmental stage would be very dangerous and very selfish and immature. Very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. I just sincerely hope that we never have the same problem because it's going to divide us. Probably. I hope we don't get to that point. Second, I also hope that we don't reach a point where it's going to be too easy for everyone, like parents. I just hope that we don't fall into the trap of just letting go. Let's work. Let's work towards trying to save the family. What am I talking about? What do I mean? When we have problems, father and mother, husband and wife, when you have problems, talk it out. Sit down and get it fixed. Let's not go the easy route and just say, fuck it, forget about it, I'm leaving. Especially if you have children. You have to lower your pride on both sides. Because in the end, the only person that will suffer is your children. Maybe you and your partner also suffers. However, we have to think about the children. It's very important, it's very critical, especially for, let's say, a boy, to have a father to imprint on. That's why probably we're having a problem with immature men because they no longer have mature men to imprint on. And also, we don't have mature women that little girls are imprinting on. Thank you, Ice. Thank you. So we need to have that back, the sanctity of marriage. We need to fully understand the contract that we have, a binding contract that we have. It's not just you and your wife, it's you, your wife, and your children. That's the most important part, the future of your children. So if your husband snores, don't leave him just because he snores. So there are certain, of course, certain situations where you really have to part ways. I understand that. Yes, I understand that. However, we go back to the beginning, maturity. We have to be mature enough to understand the situation before we get into it. And of course, what have we tolerated from the beginning? So, especially if you're starting out with a relationship, you're tolerating certain things. And then these things become normal. So, be careful with what you tolerate, not only in relationships, but everything around you. Be very careful with what you tolerate. Next, words. As I always say, Oy, happy Father's Day, Sir Mark. Happy Father's Day. And as I have always said, Nesit Varmisa Reverti, the spoken word can never be recalled. Be very careful with what you say, especially to children, especially to someone you love, like your wife. Never speak out of anger. Certain things we can never take back when we say it out of spite, out of anger, out of the heat of the moment. So I know my wife hates it because whenever sometimes we have heated arguments, I would just leave. I will not talk to her. It is simply because I don't want to say things out of turn or out of anger. I mean what I say and I say what I mean. And I don't want it to be clouded by anger or emotion. When I say it, it's because I mean it. And I hope you think about it. There are certain things that I'm choosing my words carefully. Okay? There are certain things that's basically intolerable. Intolerable. We should not tolerate. So I don't know what it is for you, but I know what it is for me. That's why we need to talk about certain things like that. So hard lines in the sand needs to be drawn, especially when it comes to principles that can't be bought. Sometimes we need to talk about taboo topics, whether we like it or not. I think it's about time we talk about politics, religion, and sex. Not necessarily the sexual act. However, we need to talk about how these words have been perverted to suit new meaning. We need to set that down properly. How do you define a man? How do you define a woman? How do you accept someone's stand without belittling them because of their politics or their religion for that matter? How do we become understanding of someone's beliefs or moral standards? Do we really need to judge them because of that? Should we judge them for how they have been brought up or how they see the world? Are certain parts of their beliefs intolerable to you, or simply because you have been programmed to think that they are wrong and you are right because of your race, creed, religion, your color, etc.? So, how do we break down these barriers? I don't know. These are just questions that come to my mind. And these are critical questions we need to answer for ourselves in order for us to guide our own children as they navigate through life. Good evening, Sir Kororo. Good evening. Good evening. So I think that's just it. Don't worry. I always say, I will try to be more regular with programming. I've just been busy taking taking other things seriously than this. I was just taking careful, what's the right word? I've been carefully thinking of the right approach for certain topics that we may be touching on, because I think it's about time that we do. Who gives a fuck? They can cancel me or not, I don't care. And we don't have enough subscriber count for it to matter anyway. But just in case, it's going to be there. I just wanted to get that out there, that there are going to be certain changes to the format. We will be taking on a lot of things slowly, slowly. We'll get there. So this is just one of them. We're going to open a shit ton of worms. We're going to be opening a can of worms, and there's no going back once we do. It's not going to be an easy conversation to make, especially when we talk about topics of personal preference, right? Personal preference. It's all going to be personal preference. But I will try to be as objective as I can be when I talk about this. I will, of course, speak first about the facts, what I see based on the facts, and my thoughts about the facts. I will not impose my own thoughts to you. It's just my duty as I see fit to speak my mind, and I hope you do too. I hope you speak your mind when it comes to certain situations, certain topics that will corrupt your children's minds. I don't want us to be hollow substitutes. I don't want us to be that. We must not become strangers, especially to those we hold dear. Now, we go back on track. I'll see if I can still do this during the weekdays because I recently got a job that may prevent me from doing it. My shift starts at 11 p.m., 10 p.m. sometimes. So maybe I'll do it during the weekends, just once a week until I see a way to do it. Or maybe just pre record it and upload it. I'll see what I can do. 'Cause I see that there are still people coming to this channel. So we'll see up to what point and at what cost. And I hope I'm still making sense. I hope I'm still able to help you get through, because that's the main reason why I put this up. And that's it. That's it for me. Thank you very much for bearing with me for the last 48 minutes and 34 running seconds. I will try and see if I can still get guests, if I can still have people come up for us and share their transition to a different life or a different mode of thinking. But for the most part, again, this is a place where we talk about certain things, hard things that don't usually get brought up. Or sometimes we'll just fuck around and find out. Sometimes maybe we'll do that. Or maybe we'll just, joke around and whatnot. But we'll see. We'll see what we can do. Again, thank you very much. Happy Father's Day to all fathers out there. Thank you very much to all those people who have served as a father to me during my formative years. To all those mothers that became my mother, for all those men that became father figures to me. Thank you very much. God bless you all. And whatever you're going through right now, if you're watching this, I hope you find a way through it. I hope you find peace. I hope you find some semblance of peace through the chaos you're going through right now. And always think that living through adversity and being able to overcome whatever it is that you're going through right now is more than enough to fuel you to survive and to choose life. I can only hope that you choose to live and never let go. Again, life is about making choices. It's not going to be easy, but I hope you choose the right path. Thank you very much. God bless and have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much. Happy Father's Day to all fathers out there and mothers being fathers to their children. Until next time, I'll see you again. Thank you. Good night.
Is everybody in?
Before we get started,
Everybody in?
does anyone want to get out?
Everybody in.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows
Ceremony
things
is
are bad.
about to
It's a
begin.
depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. You don't go out anymore. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. There's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my... I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. At first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
Here we go.
I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.